94.9 Mix FM, Mix Miracles Radiothon, benefiting TMC for Children and Children's Miracle Network Hospitals. 623 Kids, 623-5437. I'm really excited about the family we're going to talk to right now.
Me too. They're so fun. And I'm loving these ears that Ella has on.
Good morning, Ella. Good morning, Judy. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to Radiothon 2020. We are so honored to have you with us because, Ella, you have been named something very special. Would you like to tell us what that is?
Sure. I've been named Children's Miracle Network again for the third year.
The champion.
Well, champion.
CMN Champion.
Oh my gosh.
What does that mean, Ella?
It means I get to represent all the kids who have been to TMC, and I also get to go backstage a lot to different stores too.
That's awesome.
Backstage to different stores?
Or like in the background kind of thing.
We went to Costco because Costco is a huge contributor to
Yeah.
Children's Miracle Network. And so we went beyond just our normal Costco store and visited a bunch of them around Tucson. And they got to take her back up into the,
What?
where only the employees go and all that sort of fun stuff. And Costco's a cool place to work, man.
It really is.
Yeah, great benefits.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Very much so.
So what did you learn, Ella?
Oh, a lot of things. It's really just a blessing, honestly, to get this honor, and it's it's just a lot too. But I'm happy to take this award too.
Mom, Judy, would you remind us, kind of take us through Ella's experiences at TMC for Children? I mean, she's been there in and out of that hospital many, many times. Why?
Well, it's funny. We first started with something completely, kind of unrelated with a speech delay. We went to the pediatric outpatient services and got to know a lot of people, and CMN even helped us out then. And then one morning she woke up and was, she got sick, and then so we're cleaning her up. She's only 3.5, so it's not like I can really parse out what's going on, but she really decompensated quickly. We got her into the pediatrician pretty quickly. By the time we just made it, from calling at 7:30, 8 o'clock for an appointment to the appointment at 8:39, she couldn't walk. She could barely breathe.
Oh
She had
my gosh.
trachea. So we knew something big was up. And the pediatricians were great. They're like, they have better tests at the hospital. We'll call ahead. TMC will be waiting. Go ahead, just take her right in. So we drove right across the street thinking, okay, it's just more testing. That's okay. And of course, that was to keep us idiot parents calm, which I'm thankful for. And as soon as they saw her, they knew she was in what's called DKA, or diabetic ketoacidosis, which is when your blood literally turns into an acid because it has so much sugar in it that your cells are being starved from. The sugar and or glucose is the fuel all of our cells need. And she wasn't producing any insulin from her pancreas, type 1 diabetes. And so we could have lost her right there. I mean, there's so many potentially fatal complications from that. 3.5. We finally get her, her body chemistry straightened out, and our new life started with type 1 diabetes in the family. And it really is a family affair because at 3.5, I mean, the fact that she was checking her own blood by the time we left the hospital was huge. All the doctors and nurses are like, better be saving your money. This kid's going to medical school. But, it started with, before she learned how to read, she had to be able to pick out the carbs on the nutritional label to know how much insulin that she would be bolusing for. And anytime she gets sick, we have to monitor very closely, very tightly to make sure if she, loses too much in her own system and doesn't have enough glucose in her, can't get it in because she's too sick, we got to go TMC right away, because the only way that they can handle that is medically through the hospital.
Yeah.
And it's no fun,
Yeah.
but it's what we got to do to keep her safe.
So let's go back to that moment when you're in the pediatrician's office
Mhm.
and you're watching your 3.5-year-old basically come apart in
Yeah.
front of you.
Um,
Walk
yeah,
through that moment.
they say that toddlers that young, they compensate and they compensate until they fall off the cliff and they can't compensate anymore. And she had done a good job of masking, a lot of her symptoms, or they were, like the excess thirst that is common with diabetics. It was August and September in Tucson. Of course, everyone's going to be drinking a lot.
Yeah.
There were other symptoms that were very easily explainable without going to the big nasties kind of stuff. And so my husband and I are just sitting there watching her pant for every breath. And it's called strident breathing. And it's a very different motion of the whole chest cage. It's just different. It's not normal. You can't necessarily say what it is, but it's not normal. And we're like, did she get into any poisons? Were there any poisons that she could have gotten into? Is there, any of this other kind of stuff? And we had no clue what was going on. We don't have diabetes in our family. We don't have, any of these kinds of red flags that we would be looking for it. So we were watching our daughter come apart at the seams, and I'm very grateful for the pediatricians that care for the kid, but make sure the parents are able to get the kid to the next step, So, I mean, I'm sure, in fact, I know, having talked to the pediatricians later, they pretty much knew what was going on, but they also knew she had to be in the hospital environment for proper treatment. So they're like, yes, parents, she'll be fine. Get her to the hospital now. And thankfully, TMC was right there and able to step in instantly.
Yeah.
So, Dad, Bill,
Yes.
what was that like for you? You're seeing your little girl,
Yeah.
and she's struggling to the
It-
the chest
it-
thing's terrifying.
Because like Judy said, oh, it's a cold, she got into something, it's she just picked up a bug at preschool. What was it? And so going to the doctor was the next logical thing. And then they said, yeah, and they did a couple tests in the office, and he said, yeah, let's just take this one list. We're like, okay, very calmly. But when the doctor in the ER, what I remember was the doctor came in and he said, I want to call somebody in. I'm like, okay. Well, this woman comes down and I noticed her badge and it said head of pediatric endocrinology.
Mm.
And I was like, wait a minute. When they bring the head of any department down into the ER, that's serious. And it was just because she was the only doctor on call, came down and she didn't even touch Ella. She looked at DKA and turned around and walked out. And immediately everybody in the ER stopped what they were doing. And it's like they went into a different protocol. And before we know it, we had techs and interns coming around her and they were working on her. And they said, it's going to take a little while, but we will get her stabilized. And then they said, it's going to be 5 to 8 days in the hospital. And she was out in 5.
It felt like months, honestly.
Yeah.
She still remembers it.
Oh my gosh.
9 years later, she still remembers it.
So it was scary, but I was just at peace with everything because they took care of it. And when they can demonstrate that they know what they're doing, then you're confident yourself as a parent. And then to find out later what Children's Miracle Network was able to provide, and that, it was just, this is all available because of people who had donated before. And that was wonderful to know that the hospital was able to provide these services and then some. And we got the dietitians, we got a lot of paper to bring home and read and booklets and everything else. But that was all funded and sponsored through CMN. And that whole diabetic education that the hospital gives you.
The education you don't ever want to have to learn, you
But
know.
definitely, and I think more education. I mean, because we came home with a binder literally like that. I
Mhm.
think we had more education bringing her home after the diagnosis than when she was born, which is a little
Yeah.
little strange.
Yeah, that's a worrisome moment, right? Because Dad, you said it right there. Once you see there's a team that's jumping in and they know what's going on and they're confident that they have the answer, it's just going to take a little bit. But
Yep.
then when they send you home and you're no longer surrounded by the experts who gave you the confidence, right?
Yeah.
What is that feeling like, Mom?
I still remember the first week that we were home. We now had a closet full of diabetes stuff. The Lancets, the cotton swabs, the Band-Aids for the fingertips, and I mean, just it's a little scary. And you can't take your kid home until you fill that, 7-page long prescriptions, whatever, of all the stuff so that you have what you need to take care of your kid at home. So we had it all sorted, we had it all labeled, because T1D parents tend to get a little hyper controlling,
Yeah.
especially when their little one is so young. And so I remember taking her out, go to a local Target or something like that. And she didn't have a snack right away and she went low, which is the really dangerous part for a diabetic. If you go low and you can't get some kind of food into them, bad things can happen. And so I'm like, I think I know what to do. I think I need to, give food and test in 15, but it has to be the right kind of food, because you can't give a diabetic chocolate because there's too much fat. Fat takes time to break down, and she's got to get this. I mean, just all this stuff is just running around like a hamster in my head. And so I had to call someone to say, am I doing this right? My child could die if I don't do this right. Am I doing this right? And that I think everybody kind of goes through those stages when you're first faced with this. And thankfully we had good people on the other end of the line. And thankfully now with TMC, we have even more people that we can connect out to because they have their own endocrinology clinic now.
Oh, wow. Oh, well. So, Ella, okay, 3.5 years old. You still have memories? What were some of your good memories from being there? Was there
Do you
anything?
have any good?
I think I have it good, honestly.
Oh, no.
What were your memories of that,
I think I
Ella?
What about she did it's very common for that first year of diagnosis to have what's called a bounce back DKA,
Mhm.
where
honeymoon.
well, no, that's honeymoon's something different. The bounce back DKA is it's you think you got it covered. You think you think you can handle everything. And then something happens, which is very common in type 1 diabetes. Something gets out of whack and you can't get ahead of it, and your kid ends up again in DKA with a very high blood glucose. You can't get it, they can't get enough insulin in them to pull it down. Their blood starts going acid again. And so we did have a couple months after diagnosis,
Go back in.
we had to go back in.
I remember that too.
But remember the nurses?
A little bit.
Well,
They were nice.
they were,
Yeah.
I mean, they brought her into their cohort, and they have all these little the nurses at the time had little vials that they had
Yeah.
filled with little colored sand and a little
Beads.
beads, okay,
Yeah.
and a little note and stuff, and they made her one of the nurses, an
Oh.
honorary nurse. And they just showered her with so much love that when we left that time, she was crying because she didn't want to leave.
I remember that, but
Like,
Yeah.
sorry, Katie, gotta come home with us. I'm
Oh.
sorry. You can't
I
stay
was
here
like,
any
I
longer.
don't want to stay here.
Which, that's a nice problem to have. I'll take that problem anytime.
Yeah.
For sure. Ella, what would you tell other kids who might be going to TMC for children for the first time? Might be entering the hospital right now? They might be a little scared. What would you tell them?
Definitely trust the doctors and nurses. Don't be scared, because even though you are going to go through scary periods of time, and you are going to go through awkward or even like embarrassing in a sense moments in the hospital. Just it's going to get better, and you are going to get through it. Just keep thinking of positive things. Don't keep thinking about the past. Just keep thinking of like, oh, what's gonna happen like after I get out of the hospital. Maybe I can go like to get like an ice cream or an ice pop or something like that.
Wow, that's great advice for anybody, right? In
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Especially in 2020.
Oh,
Yeah, so, since it is 2020, it's this weird, COVID time. How are your parents dealing with it? How are you feeling? You feel a little more high risk? You're
um,
worried?
I don't really feel worried per se. I
Mhm.
mean, I'm not going on online school. I'm in person. One of the few schools in my state that's going in person.
And in person since the middle of August, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We started a little late, but I mean, I'm not really afraid because my school is small compared to others. It's private, and they have really good rules and contingencies if a person gets COVID. And I mean, as long as everybody does their part, I mean, I'm not really worried. COVID can just go away. So if everybody
Yes,
does their
please.
And
We'd all-
we're actually, we like to say that we have the trifecta in this house. We have a diabetic. We have an elderly person because Bill's mom lives with us.
Mm.
And then we have an autoimmune suppressed person in me. So
Oh, wow.
we've got the trifecta of the possible, the high risk folks. Bill has been working at home since everything hit. We're still married.
Yeah,
So
that's good.
we haven't killed each other yet.
Uh-huh.
We did just celebrate 25 years of marriage.
Oh, wow.
Saying
That's
25 years, hon. 25 years. But it's a
yeah.
Congratulations. That's not
Yeah,
easy.
that's
Yeah.
huge.
thank you.
So
Yeah, look at all the gray hair. Yeah.
but
I
it
think it's so weird.
makes things
Yeah.
different. We have been. I guess I've been watching Ella a little bit more than I do, just to see if anything, because she's the more social one now because she does go to school
Mhm.
and she's in her regular intramural activities. I mean, to them, it's a normal year. Yes, they're doing the precautions, and yes, they're being
normal-ish
safe.
year.
Yes, but but now I'm not. I'm like, okay, we know what we're going to get to our normal state. We're going to do these things. We're not being ignorant of this. Yes, there is a virus still out there, and we're doing our part. But you still have to watch these things. And Judy had a test, had a regular checkup at some point, and they did a test, and she came back negative and never even exposed to anything, and that was good. So you just have to be a little more vigilant, and you have to be aware of what's going on, especially when you have autoimmune diseases in your family.
Yeah.
Just taking a little more extra steps to be observant, I guess, is what you really should do. Just watch for those little things that could be a problem and be aware of them.
Come on, get up. 'Cause you're good.
Well,
The dog's getting in the way.
nobody knows
Gotta
your
love the
family
dog.
like you do, right? Nobody's able to see the person and understand the changes like you are. And so what I hear you also saying is, you're your family's best advocates. If you see something wrong with your family and it's not normal, that's when it's time to do something a little bit different. And in your
Yeah,
case, it
absolutely.
saved, it saved Ella's life in her very earliest years.
Yeah, and knowing that if she does run into problems, we would go to the pediatrician, and if necessary, it goes to the ER or to the hospital. That's fine. We've been through that a couple times, and we know what to do. And I'm sure that there's families going through this for the first time. We're like, I couldn't imagine if she got diagnosed at the end of last year and then
No.
COVID hits.
That would have been
We would have
awful.
freaked out.
Yeah, yeah.
So, that would have just
Mhm.
been. Mm.
Ella, I see why you're the ambassador. You just make people smile. You're just that fun girl, right?
She's got a twinkle in her eye, though. It could be a hug coming, or it could be some kind of a prank that she's been, noodling
Uh-oh.
for weeks. So we keep on our toes in this family.
Well, I mean, with everybody home now, there's more possibilities of me pranking people.
See what I mean? See what I mean? See?
Uh,
Well, it's awesome to see you growing so strong and your brain getting so powerful. I mean, I hear your vocabulary at
oh my gosh.
12 and a half, 13 years old, and I'm going, per se?
I know. She
No.
just beat us out, right? You can take our jobs.
If she would get her nose out of a book once in a while, maybe I could
That's
get her on
awesome.
video games or something. I don't know.
Trying to get the books down, that tells us a lot.
Yeah.
We're just so happy to see you living a healthy, happy life, how you've adapted to having diabetes and how you've shown that life doesn't have to end when you get a diagnosis that you weren't expecting, that life continues moving forward. It's really great.
I think all of the world has figured out that when life changes, you adapt and you keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we learned that lesson a while ago, but now the world is learning that lesson. So, welcome.
Yeah. Well, you can help people who are having a hard time through it by sharing your story and showing that life goes on, and it can be really joyful.
Yeah.
Ella, anything final that you'd like to say before we let you go?
Well, I just want to say that even though COVID is still going on, we can just get through it, and yeah, just keep going forward.
It's awesome to spend some time with the Lipham family. Ella, our CMN champion this year for TMC for Children. Mom, Judy, Dad, Bill, thank you guys so much. Where's the dog, Basil? Did Basil leave us?
Oh my gosh.
There he is.
Oh, he's
the
the
whole time. Just begging for attention.
And he's been pushing me out of the picture too.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, he's
Yeah,
so
they're like
cute.
siblings fighting for attention.
Basil
He
wants
smiles.
champion.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does.
Okay.
Ella, do us a favor real quick. Tell people, I don't know if you can see it there on the screen, but would you ask them to call the phone number so that they can make a gift right now to TMC for Children?
Sure. The phone number is 623 kids or 623-5437.